afternoon and welcome to Midday Live. I am Wendy Lai. Let's start with our headlines for this afternoon. Security analyst questions President Akufo-Addo's charge to the clergy to help in the fight against vigilantism. Gender activists call for strict enforcement of laws to prevent child trafficking. Now, do you know why judges wear wigs? And do you also know its relevance? We have the details. And later on in the bulletin for the international news, President Donald Trump has again traded barbs with North Korea shortly before offering to mediate in the heated regional dispute. We have these, including sports and some more stories coming up shortly. Do stay with us. Let's start with our stories now. And President Akufo-Addo has been speaking about vigilantism and he's charged members of the clergy to help government in the fight against vigilantism. Speaking at the Trinity Theological Seminary on Saturday, President Akufo-Addo says unlike other leaders who looked on for the menace of vigilantism to become a canker, he will do all within his power to solve it.
Christian theological education is of no use if it cannot be translated into a system of moral recovery and practice. I entreat you to speak out against the ills of our nation and join government's fight against them. Corruption, social and economic injustice, crime, the illegal mining menace popularly referred to as galamsey, and the new phenomenon of vigilantism. As I indicated earlier this week, in my meeting with the National House of Chiefs, I will do everything in my power to arrest this new phenomenon. I will repeat here what I told them. I will not walk the path others trod who found it convenient to turn a blind eye to the criminal misdeeds of their followers and took no action as it would displease them. I am walking another path, the path of making reality the principle of the rule of law, the idea of equality of every citizen before the law. Wrongdoers wear no political colors. They are just wrongdoers and will be dealt with as such.
All right, so now we're going to delve more into this very issue. And this afternoon, I have been joined by Skype. I'll be speaking to Emmanuel Kutin. He is a security analyst. Good afternoon, Emmanuel, and thanks for your time.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
First of all, what do you make of the president's call?
Well, thank you. You can see from the voice of the president his honesty in trying to resolve this vigilante problem that's engulfed our country. But the honest truth is that the very members of his party that found it right creating these monster groups are rendering him very impotent to act as the chief in command.
So does he sound rhetoric when he comes up with these issues over and over again? Well, we do have some little challenge with our Skype call. Okay, we have Emmanuel back.
With his own party members. Because if you look at this issue at hand, it's political in nature. And these young men drive their currency of power through the political parties. So until the political parties themselves begin to realize that it's not going to inure to any of their benefits, the earlier the better, because it is only the political parties that can disband these groups as it stands. Appealing to the clergy is good, looking at the angle of the moral attitude the churches have instilled in us, given the institutions they have across the country. I'm a product of a mission school, and I don't see myself any time taking the law into my own hands, being part of a vigilante group. So I think that by he appealing to the clergy, he's tacitly admitting that the issue has reached a national epidemic, and all forces or all hands must be joined together in resolving it. But having said that, my sister, we have talked about the solutions to these issues. So I think it's high time we look at a new paradigm shift by looking at a legal regime that will compel these political parties to disband these vigilante groups. And I think that it is high time well-meaning Ghanaians to be testing the laws to see its applicability. Because a civil society such as ours, where we draw our steps by our orders and steps by the Constitution, the political parties has no business forming vigilante groups. They just simply have to depend on the state security in protecting them.
Okay. Now, you've touched about, so if for some clarity on the legal regime, what exactly do you mean when you talk about a legal regime in dealing with it, if you think that all other aspects of trying to handle the situation has failed?
You see, my sister, it was because of law and order we chose a constitution. And we as citizens draw our power from the constitution. So I think that by our constitution, vigilante groupings are not permitted. So what's then happening? So if we continue to allow these young men to break our laws just for the purpose of seeking the attention of their political paymasters, we are heading to one direction, that is breakdown of law and order. That is why I'm of the view that let us portray to the rest of the world that our society is not one that political parties betray it, but by abusing the very power that gives its existence.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I have been speaking to Emmanuel Cotton. He is a security analyst, and we're looking at vigilantism. Away from that story, a Karachi East magistrate on Thursday, November 10, incarcerated 2 culprits in child trafficking and child labor for 12 months in hard labor. Now, the 2, Maoli Nyajo and then Lydia Doche, both pleaded guilty on conspiracy to commit crime and child trafficking, and they were convicted on their own plea.
The arrest of the 2 followed a combined efforts by lead agencies of the Child Protection Compact Agreement, Free the Slave, IOM, International Needs and PACODEP, a local NGO in Karachi. The convicts, Maoli Najo, the child trafficker, and Lydia Doche, mother of the victim, both pleaded guilty to 2 counts of conspiracy to commit crime towards trafficking and child trafficking. The prosecution told the court Lydia Doche sold her 8-year-old son and the victim Gamali Adukbo into child labor on the Volta Lake at 300 cedis for 2 years. The prosecutor said Lydia, a native of Avega Gome near Sogakope, took only 100 cedis as part payment and let go her son into slavery. The conviction is a boost in Ghana's quest to satisfy the Child Protection Compact Agreement signed with the U.S. government under the Growing Up Free project.
And more on child trafficking. We're looking at the Tier 2 watch list released by the United States Department this year. And government of Ghana, it indicated that the government of Ghana does not fully meet the minimum standards for the elimination of trafficking. However, it is making significant efforts to do so. And the government has demonstrated significant efforts during the reporting period by providing protection services to more child trafficked victims, raising awareness, developing agreements with other governments to prevent cross-border sex and labor trafficking of Guinean citizens, and collaborating with international NGOs and organizations to develop and begin implementation of victim identification and referral procedures and the National Action Plan. Again, victims' protection services remained limited, and the lack of systematic data collection hindered efforts to monitor, analyze, and report on anti-trafficking efforts, because the government has devoted sufficient resources to a written plan that, if implemented, will constitute significant efforts to meet the minimum standards. And there were some other recommendations for governments which included prosecution. This afternoon, I am being joined in the studio by Awo Adiem Amenya. She is Executive Director, J Initiative, and we're looking at this very issue of child trafficking. Good afternoon, Awo, and thanks for your time. We just had a story where we saw a mother sell her child for 300 Ghana cedis. What do you make of this?
Good afternoon to your viewers.
Are you shocked? Are you surprised?
I am not surprised, but it's a sad situation. This is not the first time we're hearing about a thing like this. And it brings to the fore the gaps in our system in child protection. Because if the child has the right to be in school, the right to access protection, shelter, and all of that, and those rights are not being upheld by even the people who gave birth to the child, then it stands to reason that there's a lot more that needs to be done by us as a country than we're doing currently. And for me, it takes me back to the question we put forward to the then Minister of Gender, Children and Social Protection nominee then, on how she intends to implement the 5-year strategic plan of her ministry. The feedback we got wasn't that encouraging, because from the look of that document was built on some of these instruments of the compact and all of that. So implementing it holistically would have brought in a lot more of changes in our system, but we don't seem to be implementing that, and that is the sad aspect of it. But then for a mother to conveniently give out a child for a paltry sum of 300
some even go less than that,
yes, goes to suggest that one, she doesn't have the money, so 300 cedis could do what they needed to be done at the moment. 2, she's ignorant about what the resources available are, because for me, if we have free basic universal education, or FQ, whereby basic education is free, maybe parents will be asked to buy books and all of that. If the parent understands that well, putting my child into school and understanding the effect of education on my child, I should be sensible enough to say that 300 cedis cannot afford that kind of thing. So let me put the child in school for the child to access education.
One of the things you made in your earlier submission regarding a lot needs to be done, and then using the education bit as an example, is it that we haven't done enough sensitization when it comes to some of these things? That is why we're still recording these incidents, because like you mentioned, if the mother understood that my child has access to free education, even probably to the senior high level, she probably wouldn't have done that.
Yeah, Wendy, it's yes and no. Yes and no in a sense that the community in question, Kete Krachi, we know the level of poverty over there. So what I made reference to the earlier strategic plan of the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. So for me, it's a social protection situation. So if mothers are made to understand, and then they ask the necessary questions there are, okay, if it's about work, what she can do, maybe there are facilities available that she could be led to access. So again, it brings it to the issue of lack of education, but not just lack of education on effect of child trafficking or child labor or child abuse, but the lack of education on facilities available for people to access. For instance, why do we have LEAP? LEAP is supposed to help people in such situations. Can we have mothers applying for LEAP to help them get out of that situation than they having to give out their children for 300 cedis or 100 cedis for that matter? So I think it's an issue of education to some extent, and it's an issue of ignorance as well, and it's an issue of poverty.
Now, you've mentioned 3 critical points, but so building up on what you just said, you think that if parents are empowered to know, they probably wouldn't give out their children?
I am sure that would give us 50% score in terms of prevention of such cases.
And that's the role parents can play?
Parents can play that role. Parents should be made, even if it's not just parents can play, parents should be made to play that role. Because, for instance, if I take the LEAP program into that community and I have parents on my list who have accessed the program, the next thing I need to do is to put in place a monitoring system to be sure that the ills they were committing in the community do not happen, because now we have given you a tool. So parents need to be made to understand those things, and then the law must also be made to bite. Because if law enforcement, the police and co are in the system, those children will not be found. I read a story about children being on the Volta Lake and scooping water out of a broken vessel, broken boat. And that does not make sense to me. That is too much of a task for a child. Some of them have witnessed people dying and all of that. And those are all abuses that children are being subjected to. And it's a sad situation for us to be on the compact and not be making extra effort to ensuring that some of these things are eliminated in our system or reduced drastically in our communities.
All right, thank you so much, Awo Amenya. She's Executive Director for J Initiative when looking at child trafficking. We're grateful for your time. You're still watching Media Live, and the Chief Justice, Sophia Kufu, has directed all judges with immediate effect to wear the symbolic wigs during court sittings. Her directive is in contrast with the earlier one some 2 years ago, demanding a stop to wearing wigs. Many are asking why African judges are still wearing the accessories of their colonial masters. Is it the time to Africanize the dressing of our judges and lawyers? Saloma Menya has more on the story.
Judges and lawyers started wearing wigs around 1680. For 150 years, the legal wig was usually of powdered white or grey hair. In 1822, Humphrey Ravenscroft invented a legal wig made of whitish grey horsehair that did not need frizzing, curling, perfuming or powdering. Judges as well as lawyers wear the short wigs during court sittings, but judges of the Superior Court wear the long wigs for ceremonial purposes. Many have held that Ghanaian and African judges need not wear these robes and wigs in order to perform effectively. Some have also said that these wigs and robes makes our judges look a little bit alien to our people. While some believe it is uncomfortable, others say it is unsuitable for the scorchy and hot weather of this part of the world. But is that the case? Lawyers are supposed to wear a robe fondly called advocate's gown and a collar band along with it while appearing before the judge. What are the reasons behind having a standard court dressing style? The directive by the Chief Justice Sophia Kufu instructed judges to ensure they are fully attired in robes alongside the wigs. Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice, also indicated that the new directive is aimed at eliminating what she described as creeping casualness in the judicial system. Some lawyers who spoke to us off camera said the robes can be worn, but wigs, also known as peruke, should have been done away with rather soon after the British dominance. So, why are Ghanaian judges still wearing the wigs? Justice Victor Ofoe is a Court of Appeal judge and President of the Association of Magistrates and Judges of Ghana. He disclosed that there was an earlier directive instructing judges to discontinue the use of the wigs.
what I got to know was that we were suspended on experimental basis. So the Chief Justice currently instructing the wearing of the wig and gown is just reinstating something that we were doing before and which was suspended for whatever experiment to be performed.
Is it colonial and would need to be done away with? He debunked assertions that the attire is meant to intimidate the public.
You go to court and they'll be quoting cases, Queen's Bench 1853. Colonial. There's some uniqueness about the judges. And so why don't you enhance the uniqueness by putting on the wigs that we were wearing before? I do not see why you go to a courtroom, several parties in the courtroom, and you see judges wearing some particular uniform and gown, wig, then you say, you are afraid.
Justice Victor Foy recounted the nostalgia around the wearing of the wig as a young lawyer.
I was the happiest human being on earth. To find myself also wearing wig and gown, that was being worn by lawyers those days, very elderly old men lawyers. I appreciated it more that my position has changed.
A retired Supreme Court judge, Justice V.C.R.A.C. Crabb, supported the maintenance of this practice, dismissing the argument of it being colonial, questioning why as a country we still speak the Queen's language.
I have a very simple answer to it. Don't we also have brains? Do we have to do something because it's being done in the British? They brought it to us. We have accepted it. We are working with it. If they have given it away, does it mean we have to give it away? That line of thinking means that any time they do something in Britain, we have to do it. If they are foolish, we have to be foolish. Is that how we are going to develop?
The retired Supreme Court judge said the wig has a spiritual connotation representing the judge's allegiance to God.
If you look at a judge's bench wig, you will find at the top a round circle. Within that round circle, the strands are not curly, they are straight. You know why? It's supposed to represent the fire which came upon the disciples of Christ at Pentecost. That should tell you the spiritual aspect of the work of a judge. And I believe what the Chief Justice is trying to do is that every day a judge sits in court, he should be reminded that he owes some allegiance, not only to his country, but also to God.
After the directive of the Chief Justice, how has judges and magistrates been complying? The news team visited the legal shop on the Ghana Law School campus where these robes and wigs are sold. Amanda Tema is the salesperson.
I must say it's quite okay compared to the previous years. This year they've really been buying, and I personally heard the news that was last week ago. But since then, yesterday for instance, a lady came here and asked the price. A gentleman came this morning and bought one. So it's making the market booming very well.
Clearly, the wigs will simply not go away anytime soon, as an earlier effort to do away with it did not achieve the needed results.
That was Salomaminya's story. Let's move on to other stories. And the Ministry of Works and Housing says government has not abandoned the ongoing sea defense project across the country. This follows claims by the minority in Parliament that contractors working on the 10 sea defense sites located across the coastal areas of the country have parked out of the site over non-payment of work done.
The National Democratic Congress administration, whilst in government, awarded the contract to provide sea defense to protect life and property for some selected coastal communities in the Greater Accra, Western, Central and Volta regions. Ranking member of the Works and Housing Committee of Parliament and MP for Bodi, Sam Siahe, who led his side to visit the selected areas, warns the government to immediately intervene to protect lives and property, as he suspected the project had been abandoned by the current government. But Deputy Minister for Works and Housing, Eugene Boachi Entry, says the Finance Ministry has already released an amount in excess of 53,000 cedis as payment to contractors for the work.
Some of the contractors are not on site because they have completed their work and moving the equipment to other sites and places, and this cannot be deemed a desertion of projects by contractors.
He also indicated that although management of coastal lands is capital intensive, government is committed to doing all it can to protect the 550 kilometers coastal lands.
Finance Minister will be reading the budget next week. Also, let's pray and hope that there are some goodies for us that will make these projects achievable.
You're still watching Midday Live. We have more soon.
Everything you need to know. Captivating. Reliable. Credible and breaking news. All at your fingertips.
Who's found Asamoah Gyan? Super finish!
Being on top of the news has never been easy. Visit us at www.3news.com for all your reliable news. 3 News, news at your fingertips.
In 2013, we shaped the course of national policy with compelling stories on education and health. In 2016, we provided the platform for political parties and the socially excluded to engage on issues of national concern. TV3 Mission is back with a bang. We navigate the turbulent terrain of deprived and hard-to-reach communities.
It's one message for person access to teaching,
empowering women to
they provide about.
We focus our sharp lenses on the health and educational needs of the socially excluded to influence policy interventions that promote inclusiveness.
And it tells you how serious
we will get you result. Mission Ghana, live on News 360. Mission is supported by Star Ghana with funding from Danida, DFID and the European Union.
Who becomes Ghana's most beautiful 2017? You decide. Vote your favorite contestant to win by texting Nana, Western Region, Sewa, Eastern Region, Baba, Central Region, or Zainab, Northern Region, to the short code 1413 on all networks. Ghana's most beautiful, straight out of Ghana. Brought to you by Sasso Insecticide Spray and Coil, Camel, now from Carex, Bond Savings and Loans, Carnival Strawberry, Madar Powdered Soap, Enapa Mackerel, Onga Tablet and Seasoning, GTP, Still Timeless, Tabia Herbal Mixture, Oba Spaghetti, Remy Spices, Tenatet Vencare, Royal Drinks, Holy Trinity Spa and Health Farm, Arata Motors, Chris Beauty range of products, Deluxy Paint, Kenya Airways, the pride of Africa, Satguru Travels, a complete travel solution, Davis Palace, and Time Herbal Mixture.
It's back. Captivating, cosmopolitan, classy, creative, clever, confident, clean, catchy, controlling, cunning. It's time to be captured by women. Catch the new exciting season of Captured by Women, coming soon on TV3.
Thanks for staying. You're still watching Midday Live. Damaged metal railings continue to pose danger to both motorists and pedestrians. While some have been knocked off by drivers, others have been stolen by miscreants. But the Department of Urban Roads say the rate at which the damages occur puts a strain on their budget. Evelyn Tingma has more.
From the N1 highway to the Tetekwashi roundabout in Accra, several metal railings have been damaged and left unattended. These metal railings are usually mounted to serve as a protection to both the motorist and the pedestrian. But a drive through town, you will find that a lot of them have been damaged by some drivers, posing danger to these same drivers. As you can see, this is so close to the road such that if you are not careful as a driver, you may find yourself wandering. Because most of the railings there have been damaged and in some instances removed, some pedestrians have resorted to crossing the road instead of using the footbridge. Most of these damaged railings have been left unattended for months and years, but the Department of Urban Roads, the agency in charge of repairing such facilities, said they have not turned a blind eye to them.
We have the personnel, we have the, but at times we delay because maybe contractors, it takes some time all over Ghana to see some of these things that have been damaged. But once we see them and they are very critical, we make sure that we repair them.
Per the traffic regulations, persons or drivers who damage state property, be it traffic light, metal railings or street lights, is supposed to replace it while being pursued in court if the need be. But Deputy Director at the Department of Urban Roads explains, more often than not, the drivers go unpunished because most of the accidents are not reported to the police.
They hit it at times in the night and they just run away. We are proactive, but it's also overwhelming. We have budget, and when it becomes overwhelming to funding, it's also another point. And we can't match the rate that they are knocked down. You understand? At times our budget cannot even meet that.
The National Road Safety Commission, though agreed the damages pose dangers, said it is helpless.
We will have lesser of those concerns. At this point, we can only address these difficulties by notifying the relevant road agencies so that they take appropriate steps. It is not within our mandate.
The police MTTD said only a few drivers are arrested for such damages.
It's either court or responding to the estimate, and for that, to that extent, I may not know what happens after the court. They have maintenance sections to ensure that road furniture, equipment, marking signs, among others that are damaged, are reinstated.
Aside the metal railings, the Tetekwashi Medina Road is overgrown with weeds. At some places, weeds are competing with flowers for space in the median. Meanwhile, that stretch through to the Liberation Circle is a ceremonial street which should be kept neat at all times. But that obviously is not the case.
And stakeholders in education want government to demonstrate commitments to the National Inclusive Education Policy by increasing funding to promote compliance. Although the policy was formulated in May 2016, children with disabilities and special needs still encounter challenges in accessing quality education.
According to UNICEF, children with disabilities are one of the most marginalized and excluded groups in society. As part of efforts to ensure such children have access to quality education, the Inclusive Education Policy was formulated. The policy seeks to give guidance to inclusive education in the country by creating an enabling environment to address the diverse educational needs of Ghanaians. At a stakeholders meeting in Accra, the national coordinator of the Ghana Educational Campaign Coalition, Veronica Giagu, noted lack of funds, inadequate and inaccessible infrastructure is a setback to inclusive education.
And it's more than a year since the policy was adopted. However, the level of awareness about the policy within the public space is still very low. Also, when it comes to implementation, We only have 20 districts where the inclusive education policy is currently being implemented.
She called on all stakeholders to collaborate with government to improve outcomes for children with disabilities.
We are also looking at influencing our policymakers to ensure that every region has at least one inclusive school so that children have opportunities wherever they find themselves in the country to have access to education.
Away from education, let's head straight to the Bono-Afo region. Poor road network and access to ready markets are likely to discourage the fortunes of government planting for food and jobs program in that very region. Our correspondent Larry Pakwisi Moses visited tomato farmers at Techimantia in the Tano South district, where farmers are already grieving over post-harvest losses due to the lack of good roads and ready markets.
Techimantia is a tomato growing area, but poor road network in the district is affecting farmers from transporting their produce to market centers on time. One is greeted with numerous crates of harvested tomatoes loaded onto trucks and transported to distant market centers with much difficulty. The roads leading to the farmlands are muddy and unmotorable for trucks that could have helped to carry the produce from the farms to the roadside. A young farmer, Emmanuel Owuswansa, said market women take advantage of the perishing nature of tomatoes to buy their produce at giveaway prices.
Tomatoes number fan 1.52 million.
3 weeks ago, a box of tomato was 150 Ghana cedis, but now the women pay 40 cedis for the same box of tomato. This is really affecting us.
The Tano South District Chief Executive Collins Ofinam Techi said there are plans to set up some agro-based industries and called on investors to take advantage of the opportunity to invest in some of the projects.
This opportunity, telling all investors, those who are interested in processing tomatoes into puree or any other material that you can use in future, we have down in abundance here.
Meanwhile, a 27.5-kilometer road that was to be executed under the Cocoa Roads Rehabilitation Program has stalled. An assemblywoman, Madame Beatrice Owuswansa, said they organized communal labor to help check massive erosion on the road, but that doesn't appear to be enough.
In other news, the Gaming Commission of Ghana has confiscated and destroyed over 1,500 slot machines at the Sawam landfill site in the eastern region. The commission says it will start arresting and prosecuting any gaming operator who fails to register with the Gaming Commission. A report by Frederick Clarence Williams.
The Gaming Commission in recent times has received public backlash following activities of illegal operators, indiscriminate sighting of slot machines and a surge in gambling activities. According to the Gaming Commission, slot machines and other gaming equipment widely known as jackpots are to be registered and licensed. By law, they are to be placed within registered premises of gaming centers. Last month, the task force, together with the police, confiscated over 1,500 slot machines. According to the Gaming Commission, it is mandated to destroy and confiscate equipment at its disposal for more than 1 month. The Commission destroyed over 1,500 confiscated slot machines at Nsawam landfill site in the eastern region.
The Gaming Commission is raising the standard of gaming in this country. By so doing, we are cracking down on all illegal operations in Ghana. We're going everywhere. You know, we're not leaving any stone unturned. Going around where the penalties, prosecutions going to come on, and a lot more of that.
Commissioner Peter Mriku said the exercise will be sustained to strengthen its monitoring and regulatory role to ensure the gaming industry meets international standards. He said the Commission would step up efforts to clamp down on unregistered centers and prevent children from engaging in the business.
These machines are not used anywhere. These are analog machines. What we intend to do, or what we are doing, by second quarter next year, we are migrating all the gaming industry from analog onto a digital platform, so we can plug in a central monitoring system to check.
He promised the commission will ensure an improvement in revenue generation.
Into education, pupils of Ejijimonkuno DA Primary School of the Kintampo South Kindergarten 1 and 2 pupils sit and learn on the bare floor. Now, the entire lower primary section of the school also study under trees. A report by Tichi Johnson.
The school, which was established in 1974, has an enrollment of 288 pupils and 7 teaching staff. The challenges of the school are enormous, with infrastructure being key amongst them. Pupils are compelled to sit and learn under trees due to limited infrastructure. Classes are held under this makeshift structure as pupils sit on the bare floor and ride. The classroom itself is also ridden with potholes and it's dusty as well. To compound their problems, textbooks are yet to be supplied to kindergarten pupils, though they are edging close to the end of the first term of the academic year. This is not peculiar to only the kindergarten. In primary 2, 4 pupils are compelled to sit on a dual desk meant for only 2 pupils because of lack of furniture. Teachers also struggle for a space to mark their exercises under this tree after traveling about 12 kilometers to school daily. The assistant head teacher of the school, Eric Abangna, said they are overwhelmed by the situation. He lamented the absence of the school feeding program was a disincentive as pupils failed to return after going home for their lunch.
Next, we have sports with Kuchwafre.
MTN Video Report is a citizen report from individuals wherever they are in Ghana and beyond. This will provide an opportunity to those the issues concern to make a report on it directly.
My name is Hashim. I'm David, reporting from the Northern region. Reporting from the Western region.
Send in photos and videos of any news or events breaking in any part of the country where they are located and narrate your story to 055 143 3044. MTN Video Report is powered by MTN everywhere you go.
Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
By 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
20 by 20, showing this Saturday at 1 p.m. on TV3.
20 by 20. TV3 at 20. 20 years in the lives of 20 prominent Ghanaians. Looking 20 years before and 20 years beyond.
by 20, showing this Saturday at
Foreign Ministry called him old. This was one of the series of remarks he made on social media before volunteering his services over maritime claims in the South China Sea. He said, "I am a very good mediator. China, Vietnam, the Philippines, Taiwan, Malaysia and Brunei all have competing claims to territory in the South China Sea. Mr. Trump's own dispute with North Korea continues to escalate, at least in the insults traded across Twitter and in official statement. On Saturday, North Korea denounced Mr. Trump's Asia trip, calling it a warmonger's visit, and again described the president as a dotard, a centuries-old insult for an elderly person. Mr. Trump responded with a passive-aggressive tweet, suggesting he would never call Mr. Kim was short and fat, and complaining, "Oh well, I try so hard to be his friend, and maybe someday that will happen." Spanish Prime Minister Mariano Rajoy will visit Catalonia for the first time since he imposed direct rule on the northeastern region a fortnight ago. He's also called regional elections for December and will address a campaign meeting of his centre-right party. Some 750,000 people protested in Barcelona on Saturday night against the detention of Catalan leaders. Several figures were held after the Catalan government made a unilateral declaration of independence.
Next, we have entertainment. And to settle all rumors and controversies surrounding her pregnancy and birth, screen goddess Yvonne Nelson has released some fascinating pictures of her pregnancy shoot on her social media platforms. The actress, who was reported to have given birth a fortnight ago, kept silence throughout her pregnancy period, even though it became the talk of town. After reports of her delivery, some fans of hers were still in doubt as they never saw her pregnancy pictures on any other Monday star. However, to put all rumors to rest, the actress released her pregnancy pictures early this morning as she graced the cover of Nigeria's Well magazine as she marks her birthday. In her interview with the magazine, Yvonne talks about her interesting journey to childbirth, her baby daddy, and all the transformation motherhood comes with. We have more in our subsequent bulletins. Happy birthday to Yvonne and congratulations to her. That's all for now. My name is Wendy Lai. Enjoy the rest of our programs, but News 360 is at 7. Thanks for watching.
Getting into all of this?
I think it showed me that I could love this, that I love this. It showed me that the career path I was pursuing, though it was safe, was not what would make me alive creatively.
Okay.
And I think also that Ghanaians will have to get to the point of deciding to work in the area of our talents instead of the area of our training.
Okay.
Many of us are working with our certificates. And then the God-given talents we've been given, we've put them aside. But life really happens when you're operating with what you've been blessed with. And I'm happy to be doing this.
I like that bit. Do you still miss, do you miss accounting?
Oh, I apply it here. I apply it in what I'm doing. So I walk into the National Theatre, I look at the people and I multiply. And at the end of it, I like to see the accounts, the bank statement, and it must reflect.
The bank statements must reflect.
It must reflect.
Because
I've done the calculation.
You look at the people and multiply.
Oh, yeah, multiply.
No one can joke with. No one can joke with the money and everything.
No. You can't get away with it. You can joke with it, but you can't get away with it.
Tell me, how was it growing up? I mean, your childhood days. How was it like in Ghana?
Fun. Except that in those days, I didn't think it was fun because we didn't have anything to compare it with. Now I look back, and of course it was there. We had places to play.
Okay.
I get alarmed when I pass by schools in Accra and they have no playing fields. So we have all these children and they are not jumping around, they are not running around and things like that. But as such interest of where I was raised in Kumasi, we had a lot of space to run. It was fun walking to school. You eat breakfast at home, you come home during break to have something to eat, and then rush back.
Okay.
You know, now if your father doesn't own a car, you can't go to school. Because your father or your mother must go and drop you, and the driver must come and pick you.
What's changed?
The days have changed. The times have changed. But we had a lot of room. There was a school within any neighborhood. My period was a time when Saito could hold its own against any international school.
Okay.
You know, I went kaki, you know, the kind where we go to school barefooted,
okay,
and then go and raid sugarcane farms at the end of school. But even then, by the time we hit class 4, we could read and write very well.
Something you wouldn't get today. But just curious, so when was this period? I mean, which year was that? I'm just curious.
1960.
1960.
I was born in 54.
Oh, okay.
So, and I didn't go to creche. I didn't go to nursery. So I started class 1 at age 6, and that is 1960. Class 1 at South Central, so SDA Primary School. And it was fun. It was fun. It was also the period where you were the child of any elderly person. So for instance, if my mother traveled and I'm messing around, another woman could see me, come, who are you? Whose son are you?
Okay.
So I am Antiama's, Antiama Fantino a K line, and I will say, and you are doing this, and then she would beat you up. She will beat you. She will spank you. And say that when you go home, go and tell your mother that I, Antiefia, I saw you doing A, B, C, D, and I spanked you.
Did you tell your mother?
No, we'll go and we won't say it.
Exactly.
But at about 5:30 p.m., you'll find Antiefia coming to the house. And then she comes and says, Auntie Amma, has Kobina come to give a report? So, no, what report? So I met Kobina doing this and this and this. And so I spanked him.
Okay.
And my mother would thank this woman profusely for doing that. And then call me, and in the presence of the woman, give me some more beating.
Oh.
For the woman to feel affirmed that she's done the right thing.
There was enough discipline at the time.
Now, we are even telling teachers they can't beat the children. I fear for the next generation.
Why? Why do you fear for the next generation?
When we raise people who don't know what discipline is and what authority is, we are creating people who are a danger to themselves. Because they wouldn't know any limits.
How do we change that?
Well, maybe we're talking about it. It will lead other people to talk about it. It will not be just one intervention, but it must be, we must get to the point where those who know better can be honest with the assessment of the situation.
Okay.
You know, there are things that, you know, that sometimes you find, you get into a situation and you know that this person knows better and yet he's not speaking out. Those who know better, who know what proper upbringing meant, I think it is time we spoke out.
It's time we spoke about it, but speaking about, let's look at Ghana's governance over the last 20 years. What's your assessment of the country over the last 20
Ghana,
years?
I have a lot of hope for Ghana. I have a lot of hope for Ghana. There's a statement I make. I say that Ghana is a teenager among nations. We are 60 years, and some people say, oh, Ghana is 60 years. No, Ghana is 60 years as a nation. Compared with the age of nations, compared with China, we haven't been born. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
If you compare that with about 6,000 years of China, or 4,000 years of Japan, or how many years of England. You know, even US is regarded as one of the youngest nations, and that's over 200 years. We are 60. We are a teenage nation. And so we evidence all the misbehavior of teenagers. We will outgrow it. I believe that. I believe that there would be a time when a lot of the things that you and I privately, in our private conversations, are disgusted about, we'll look back and realize that we'll move beyond that. And then it will become a joke. You know, we'll talk to people and say, you don't know what we've been through.
Okay. Yes,
but I have a lot of hope.
But while we're a teenage nation, I mean, looking at how we're going, are you convinced we can make it?
Yes, I am. Oh, I am. Absolutely, we will make it.
What do you think we need to do if we're to get to the levels of China, Singapore, Malaysia?
Patience. We've got to be patient. We've got to be patient with ourselves. We've got to be... Because you see, sometimes in a rush to change things, you may create more dislocation. Certain things will come up naturally. Let me tell you a story if we have the time.
Go ahead.
When I was, again, you were asking me about my youthhood, and I told you we had a lot of room to play. So one vacation, my friends and I decided we were going to construct our own stadium.
Okay.
So we got this piece of land, we weeded it, we went and cut bamboos and used the bamboos for goalposts. We got some white paint to draw the lines and things like that. It looked very beautiful. Except that when I looked at it, I thought it was missing something. Because in those days, every stadium, every football park I had been to, the area in front of the goalpost was always bare.
Okay.
Always bare. So I went to pick a hole, and I began to wait. Then one of my friends said, "Come, what are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, haven't you seen every football park, the area before the goalpost?" He said, "No, it will happen. Don't worry. It will come by." I said, "No, would it?" Say, "Yeah. You know, within 2 weeks, the area in the 6-yard box, both ends were bare."
Okay.
Ghana needs to learn that certain things will happen. Let's be patient. It will happen. We will get there.
What are those things that we need to be patient about?
Let's be patient with our educational system in raising our younger people. Let's not be too drastic in changing things. Let's be long-term. Let's have a long-term view in the things we are doing so that, because now it looks like every government comes and thinks that I have 4 years. 4 years to make the impact, 4 years to reap. But it doesn't happen that way. You know, building a nation is a baton race. It's a relay race. You come to do something, you hand over to someone who takes it further. You can't run the whole race. That is not the way a relay race is meant to be. Unfortunately, we have not as yet been able to articulate a unified vision of, I would like to see the Ghanaian dream.
Okay.
I would like to see the Ghanaian dream. So that no matter what party comes into power, there are certain core values that you would like to promote. Okay. Education, good health, health delivery, housing, agriculture, food for the people, good infrastructure. Because I believe that if all that any government did is to improve the infrastructure, the creativity and the resourcefulness of Ghanaians will take care of the rest.
Okay.
You understand what I mean? It's not government's business to get us employment. Ghanaians will employ ourselves. Because Ghanaians are very creative. And Ghanaians are hardworking. Hardworking. Look at your team. Look at the hours you put in. These are not lazy people. Meanwhile, in addition to that, some of you are doing some other courses and things like that to add value to yourselves. The Ghanaian is not lazy. But when you present a people with a situation that they think is hopeless and they give up, that is when they then begin to do the wrong things.
Okay, but talking about Ghanaians would employ themselves. Now, there's a policy of trying to employ Ghanaians by way of going about one district, one factory. Are we being patient enough for that one?
Let me avoid answering that question because that policy has not even been tried out, has it?
Well, it started with one at Kumfi. We're told an additional 185
How many months
will
ago?
start. How many minutes?
How many months ago?
That's 3 months ago.
All right. You remember what I said? Patience.
We have to be patient with that one.
Let's wait and see.
But
you see, it's fine. Every government should try something. Okay. It doesn't work. Let's be honest enough to move on.
Okay.
Then we try something else. It is not always that you get it right. Especially when you're out of government, when you are not in government and you're making promises, because you don't know what you are coming to meet. Running as an opposition is very different from being on the seat. And I wish the current government were, but let's be patient. Let's try it. Let them try it. If it doesn't work, you know, I was fortunate enough to work with a British retired soldier called Peter Barker. We're in the publishing business. And there was one day that I went to him with an idea for a publication. And he said, go ahead. I went ahead and it didn't work. I had been so excited about it. I told him, Peter, it's not working. He said, yeah. I knew it won't work because we tried it 5 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I said, but Peter, why didn't you tell me? He said, I wanted you to find out. I wanted you to find it yourself. Now that you found out, now go and find ways in which we can make it work.
Okay.
He made me, I think he impacted me a lot because he gave me the opportunity to try and fail and pick up. There's nothing in trying and failing, but what will be painful is when you try and you fail and you justify that your failure is excess.
Okay.
That one will be painful.
Is that what we do here?
Well, are you a stranger?
I'm asking you, Uncle White.
Well, yeah, you're in a very comfortable place to ask the questions. I'm also in a comfortable position to dodge the questions.
I take it at that. I mean, I won't repeat that question. Let's move on.
Thank you.
In moving on, what's your assessment of Ghana's media, particularly over the last 20 years, particularly TV3?
How old is the private media? We are from 1992.
Yeah.
We are very young. We are very young. I remember the early days, and your producer and I have a long history in one media house, so he will understand what I'm saying. In the early days when the media landscape became plural, as against the good old days when it was GBC.
Yeah.
Do you understand me? A lot of the media people were just excited that they can talk to a minister. Just that. Just the fact that they have a minister's number and they can call a minister or a minister could call them, they were so excited about it. That's some years ago. Now it's changing, Kakra. There are people who have ministers' numbers and the minister calls them and they are not as excited as the media of yesteryear was. So that will change. The other thing that I think will change is that we'll move from MPP said, NDC said, to holding the politician's leg to the fire.
Okay.
Right now, somebody in one party goes to make a press conference. We are in the media. We don't do any analysis. We go and look for an opposition member and ask him to react to what the other party has said. And he also reacts, and that becomes the news. When we do that, we are not doing our people any favors. We must be able to pick the statement that man made, go into the history of his own government, or when they were in power, and say that you said this. When you were in power, you said this. You said you were going to do this 5 years ago. You haven't done anything. Now you are not talking about it. Now you're talking about these new things. Why? If we did that, they would all raise their game. Okay. But right now, what is happening is that prime time, we offer them our platforms. And then this is what happens. NDC says MPP are thieves. Then MPP says, but you NDC people, you are thieves. Then say, yeah, okay, but who stole chicken? You have stolen a goat. Do you understand? So you are a bigger thief because you stole a bigger animal. And then, okay, we may have stolen a goat, but it was a lame goat. You understand me? But you are, you know, that's not how to build a nation. A media should do much better than that. But again, teenage nation. It will go.
Okay, well, somebody will say, aren't we making excuses? Maybe we should go the way you're talking about it. Let's get it done.
It will come. It will come. It will come when we discover that, there were people in the media who were very partisan in the early days. Extremely. Today, I'm beginning to see a trend where somebody in the media has a partisan interest, but is able to conceal it. In the past, they wouldn't. Because he's beginning to realize that it doesn't matter which party is in power. You know? Fela sang a song which I don't think your platform will allow me to say it. Different day.
You can sing it.
Different day, same SHIT.
Now I understand why you didn't want to sing it. I understand. Finally, your wishes for TV3 as we mark 20 years and as we move on.
Well, TV3 brought innovation into television. I grew up in the days of GBC. So TV3 was fascinating. TV3 was fascinating, the picture quality, the range of programming that TV3 brought to us in those days, quite fascinating. My wish for TV3 is that in the coming days, we'll be able to see a lot more quality local content. I can understand that that is not cheap, and our market is too small. You know, to get a good feature on TV, homemade, just for TV3 may be a bit too expensive. But I think gradually, with some creative tweaking, we should be able to get there. But I wish you well. I'm looking at the quality of people in TV3 now, even the quality of the team that is handling this interview. I know half of them. These are top-notch professionals. And when a media platform has this quality, you can only be sure that they will go very far. And I am expecting great things in the next 200 years for TV3.
Anglebo White, thank you very much.
So that your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren must be able to come and work at TV3 and say that my grandfather worked here.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Anglebo White. And that's all from us today on 20 by 20 with me, Winston Amwa. Thank you very much for joining us on behalf of the team. Bye for now.
Choboy, hey! Choboy, hey! Central, hey! Central, hey! Zimbabwe. You know, you've been watching Ghana's Most Beautiful, and I must tell you that you're just watching just two contestants. Do you want to know? It's just Baba and the rest. It's Baba and what? Baba and the. We didn't just come here just to, let people know that, we are just coming for one of these contestants. No, we are coming to let the public know about their health, what to do. And that's what Baba is doing on stage. And you cannot just go out there and just support just anybody. We are asking you that if you want the nation to be where we want to be, it's all about Baba. And continue texting Baba. The name is B, small a, another A, B, another A, 2, 1, 2.
This is Team Sewa. We are live on TV3 and we are going right now to the finals. We are so sure. This has been a beautiful pageant so far, and you have known Sewa is different. We are into this show to get a queen to project a project, to push a project far. And we are here for knowledge with intellect, a pharmacist for a queen. How explicit. So Sewa is going on there to push Ghana forward. So come along, help us through, push us high, and let's go with the queen. Thank you so much, Ghana, for how far you've brought us, what you've been doing so far. We appreciate it.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So far, it has been so good for our lovely sister Zainab. And this year, we are taking the crown back to the northern part of Ghana. It's been so long. Yeah, you all can bear witness to that. So, you know, this is the crown. Keep voting Zainab to the short code 1413. The promise here, to be in the got the promise here. Ben Shah come down to the crown. Take all the crown. You Zainab, what you do here? GM can bago. Yes, I'm a Yes, I'm a
Okay, we are here to support our girl from the Western region. As you all know, the best always comes from the West. This year we are retaining the crown. It's going back to Western region. And please, you've all seen how our girl is performing. You've seen the beauty. You've seen the just you don't want her to lose. Please keep texting Nana to 1413. NA. Remember, the best always comes from. She's going to win this year. Please keep texting for her to win. Thank you.
GM Kempago. We yali bokabora. We yali tikaula. We tikaula. Jramisa.
Your home is the place you long to be forever. Ghana, get ready for your one-stop destination of choice in perfecting that dream home. It is the biggest super discounted fair ever, dubbed the Ghana Home and Lifestyle Fair. This is the biggest platform for all manufacturers, dealers, importers, suppliers of electronic appliances and home decor and accessories, lifestyle products, homeowners, and related home services such as internet, security, and insurance companies to showcase their products and services to the public. Date Friday 24th to Sunday 26th November 2017 at Golden Tulip Hotel, Accra. To book your stand or to sponsor the Ghana Home and Lifestyle Fair, please call 0244-627-609 or pick up your registration form at TV3 premises, Kanda. The Ghana Home and Lifestyle Fair is sponsored by Golden Tulip Hotel, Accra, media partners, and supported by The Mirror, powered by 3FM 92.7 TV3 and brought to you by Planet One Multimedia.
They broke out and dared to dream, and now it's time to take it to the next level. MTN Hitmaker 6, the next level. Ghana's most transformational reality show. Experience amazing talent, the highs and lows, and excitement on a whole new level. Join Richie, Magnum, and DJ Breezy as we discover Ghana's next hit maker.
Crazy baby,
if you missed the series on TV, don't worry. Just download the MTN Video Plus app today from the Google Play Store and enjoy MTN Hitmaker for free. Sundays TV3 5 p.m. MTN Hitmaker 6, the next level.
MTN, everywhere you go.
Shows every Sunday at 5 p.m. only on TV3. Don't miss it. 10 ladies across the 10 regions of Ghana began the journey to the crown.
Goodbye. This is the end of the road.
6 evicted, 4 ready for the grand finale. What a journey. This Sunday on Ghana's Most Beautiful, join Johnny Hughes and MFR as they host a panel to discuss the journey so far. We look at the highs and lows, exciting and challenging moments, evictions and controversies, as well as the grand finale. Time is 8 p.m. on TV3. Please note that there will be no live show. Ghana's Most Beautiful, straight out of Ghana. Brought to you by Sasso Insecticide Spray and Coil. Camel, now from Carex. Bond Savings and Loans. Carnival Strawberry. Madar Powdered Soap. Enapa Mackerel. Onga Tablet and Seasoning. GTP, still timeless. Tabia Herbal Mixture. Oba Spaghetti. Remy Spices. Tenatet Vencare. Royal Drinks. Holy Trinity Spa and Health Farm. Arata Motors. Chris Beauty range of products. Deluxe Paint. Kenya Airways, the pride of Africa. Satguru Travels, a complete travel solution. Davis Palace. And Time Herbal Mixture.
I love you. Me go to me Baba Kenu. You book Yali. I don't tolerate nonsense. William Sabina, boss, boss my foot. And he had a conoya okabai. What is he saying?
I said there. We are Sansani. We are quite poor.
But you took my 50 kwam. It ain't anything.